No matter if points are gained or points are lost, there will be much to discuss. For analysis regarding tonight's Winnipeg Jets game, here are Dave Manouk, Ezra Ginsburg, and your host, Drew Mandel. The Illegal Curve post-game show starts now.
A scoreless first period was not an omen regarding how the rest of the contest would go. Winnipeg Jets and New Jersey Devils light up the scoreboard. 9 goals in total, a 6-3 Winnipeg Jets victory. We break it down next with the Illegal Curve post-game show. Good evening, Winnipeg. Good evening, Manitoba. For all those joining us live this evening on our YouTube channel and all of our social media platforms, we say good evening, universe, and welcome to the Illegal Curve post-game show. Dave Manouk's in the top right. Ezra Ginsburg lamenting the loss sustained at the hands, lamenting the loss of his beloved New Jersey Devils is in the bottom middle. And I'm your host, Drew Mandel, here to discuss tonight's 6-3 Jets victory. 7 goals last year against when the Jets and Devils played in Winnipeg. 6 goals tonight. The Jets seem to like playing against the Devils on home ice. Nice to see both you gentlemen on this Tuesday evening. How are things?
What's up, boys? I thought you were going to at least acknowledge the original Illegal Curve toque that I'm wearing. This is like circa 2007 or 2008. This was like before we even had the radio show on Kick FM, Drew. But I guess I'm going to have to, do a little Barry Horowitz, pat myself on the back for digging this toque out. But yeah, the first period was looking, more like the 1999 New Jersey Devils. Like I was getting pretty excited, boys. I was like going to start, referencing Jay Pandolfo and Sergei Brelin, maybe throw in a Jamie Langenbrunner just for fun. But yeah, obviously, there was a bit of a goal explosion in the second period. And, we'll get into the goals in the Betway game recap, but that's been the issue, in addition to missing Jack Hughes and Nico Hischier, obviously, they're top 2 centers, but the goaltending has been suspect. Like Akira Schmid obviously had the great run in the playoffs last year, right? We all remember, the Devils beat the Rangers in the first round. As a Devils fan, I always have to bring that up. But yeah, I mean, look, I don't think anybody's going to blame Akira Schmid on all these goals. Like, there were a couple ones that I think he would like to have back, but yeah, give the Jets credit, right? The Devils fought and tied it up in the second period, but after they went up 3-2, they really never looked back, Dave.
No, you're right, Ez. And it was an interesting start to the game because we saw Logan Stanley on the ice for a warm-up. So, I noticed him there while I was sitting watching warm-up skate, and I thought to myself, well, this is unusual. And it was noted that he didn't stay on for extra time this morning. And I will say, like I said, I did notice David Gustafsson just seemed a little bit, I don't know what the word is. Like, I didn't really make a big statement as to it because I was like, okay, well, he almost ran into a couple of guys during the warm-up, and I was like, oh, well, that's a little unusual. It's almost like he was slightly off. And then they, of course, decide to go 11-7. So my suspicion is that Gustafsson was dealing with something. I don't think they chose to go 11-7 and had him dress as well. I suspect what we'll find out, we'll wait to find out from associate coach Scott Arneal, which of course you will be able to watch on our YouTube channel after this show, of course. But my suspicion would be, and we'll maybe be able to bring that to you from some of the comments that are tweeted out from the Matt Frost Media Center, that he obviously might be dealing with something minor. And then, of course, they brought Logan Stanley just in case, because someone suggested that maybe they were doing it to get him a game. But again, I don't think you bring Gustafsson onto the ice if that was your intention to go 11-7, unless you're trying to pull a little subterfuge on the Devils. But
well, and also, how many times have we seen the Jets go 11-7 in recent memory, right, boys? Like we haven't seen it a lot.
No, you're right, Ezzy. And so it was, and by 11-7, eventually became 10-7. But so an unfortunate game for them to do that and to make that choice. But yeah, obviously something
was almost 9-7 with Nemestikov.
That's when he got crunched. So I suspect we'll hear what was something might have been bothering David Gustafsson for the reason why he was, obviously not too significant because he did take the skate. So he was obviously a game time decision. And we'll see what happens. The Moose are heading out on the road. So I suspect after tomorrow. So I suspect if there'll be a recall, especially with Rasmus Kupari leaving the game and not returning, they're going to need to recall at least one, maybe 2 guys from the Moose. But we'll see what happens there, of course, over the next couple of days. But yeah, unfortunate for David Gustafsson because he had been playing well, and he gets the late scratch and Logan Stanley gets just his second game of the year. So Big Stan was in the lineup for just the second time this season.
Yeah, and I thought Logan Stanley played fine for the Winnipeg Jets tonight. 11-7 is always a little bit awkward, always a little bit, can cause some confusion, can cause a little bit of not difficulty necessarily, but just it might take a little bit of getting used to getting into that flow, having that seventh defenseman, in the Jets case, having that 11th forward, or only 11 forwards, only 10 forwards after Kupari left the game. But I thought, Logan Stanley, certainly acquitted himself fine. He actually laid a body check, if I recall correctly. There was a significant body check, and because people think that he's physical when he's not really, despite his size. I thought Logan Stanley played a fine game for the Winnipeg Jets. This was a entertaining contest, a bit of a slow start. The first 10 minutes were a bit of a feeling out period, but you would expect that these two teams would play an exciting game. These are two teams that have, dripping with talent, dripping with skill. And I say that knowing full well that the Devils are without Nico Hischier. They're without Jack Hughes. So just imagine how much more talented they would be. They still have a ton of young talent. We know the Jets have some offensive firepower. And so I'm not surprised that it ended up being a higher scoring game, but it certainly took, a good 5-10 minutes, I thought, before I really, got into the flow of things, Mr. Ginsburg.
Yeah, well, I was talking about the goaltending earlier. Like, all you have to do is look at the save percentage and the goals against for the Devils. Like, their goal differential and the Jets' goal differential, I think, was off by like 1. Like, it was like +2 or +1 or something like that. That has been the Devils' biggest issue this year. And, I was telling Dave, Luke Hughes he's 20 years old. You forget that, right? Or 21 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's obviously going to be a big part of the future. I really like, how John Marino has fit in. Obviously, he got the Devils' second goal. But, Jonas Siegenthaler and Brendan Smith, I thought, were really exposed tonight. Like, that's been a problem all year for the Devils. That third pair has not been good. But, yeah, you're right. Timo Meier obviously was a huge addition for the Devils last year. Tyler Toffoli has fit in really well. He's leading the Devils in goals. So you're right, Drew. I still think the Devils are at least a year or two away from being kind of a legitimate Stanley Cup contender. And that, for
you
me,
need a goalie.
Yeah,
need a goalie. You wonder, looking back at things, and you wonder if they're going to have regrets. Who knows how hard they went after a guy like Connor Hellebuyck in the offseason. Obviously that ship has sailed, and the Winnipeg Jets will reap the fortune of that. But you can't. They need a goaltender. They're not built to win come playoff time with the current state of their goaltending. And,
well, we always talk about this, right? Like,
yeah.
When it comes to the Jets, since Connor Hellebuyck, has basically entered the NHL, this hasn't been the case because the Jets have had one of the better goalies in the league. Mm-hmm. But for most teams, you have to, at the very least, have average to slightly above average goaltending. Right. And the Devils just haven't had that this year. And Vitek Vanacek, I think, we've seen enough from him that he's most likely a backup, his ceiling at the NHL level. And Akira Schmid is only 23 years old, right? He, had the great run last year, as I mentioned, for the Devils getting to the second round. But, clearly, this is a guy who's still finding his game at 23 years old, right? So I think, Schmid's ceiling is definitely higher than Vanacek, but you're right. Until the goaltending gets better, that's what we're going to see. And I was telling Dave, like, the Devils, had an embarrassing loss to the Colorado Avalanche last week, and that's 3 losses in a row. And I believe their next game's in Pittsburgh, if I'm not mistaken, or Washington. Pittsburgh, Dave M's giving me the thumbs up. And I think they're saying that Jack Hughes might join them because I think that's the last game of the road trip or the second last game of the road trip. I don't think Jack Hughes is going to play on Thursday night. But the reality is that, those are your top 2 centers. Like Mikey McLeod's centering the top line, and he's usually on your third line, right? So, but, give the Jets credit, though. The Devils still put up a fight. And as we talked about, the game was tied in the second period. So give the Jets credit for fighting through some of that adversity in the second period.
Well, I think what you have to give credit for, Dave, is that the Jets, they punched the Devils, taking the 2-0 lead, and we'll get into the specifics of each goal during the Betway game recap coming up here in a couple of minutes. And then the Devils, gave them a good solid right shot back, tying the game up at 2 with those 2 quick goals. And the Jets didn't blink. They responded to getting punched in the jaw by punching right back again, and then of course literally punching back when the third period began, and some of the fisticuffs that we saw in that third period. But the Jets really, they took a blow and they came right back, and I think that you have to love that. There was no sag in their game. There was no sort of head down, woe is me. after the Devils tied the game, and that's during that second period flurry.
I think the Jets were feeling good about themselves because when they took that first penalty in the first period, they killed it without giving up a shot. They're like, well, this is the best power play in the NHL, and we're handling them. Well, they learned later on in the game that power play is pretty damn lethal, even without the two players, of course, that Ezzy's mentioned. And New Jersey had a bit of an unusual schedule, as Ezzy just touched on, right? You had the game against the Capitals, and then on Friday, then you have a game today in Winnipeg. So they flew to Winnipeg on Monday, played Winnipeg, and now I don't think they play again till either Thursday or Friday in Pittsburgh. So really unusual for New Jersey to be
there's just the one-offs where you fly, not halfway around the continent.
Yeah.
But you go from Washington to, I don't know if
at least they're going to Western Pennsylvania, not Eastern Pennsylvania.
Sure. I'm not sure if anyone's looked at a map, but you're going from New Jersey, you're going southeast to Washington, to northwest to Winnipeg, and then back to southeast to Pittsburgh. You're right.
That's such a good line there, and I was muted.
Oh, well, you were muted. So then,
what was your line, Big Daddy?
I was gonna say Drew's not an air traffic controller, but he'll take a look.
It would have been a better line if you had said it initially. It sort of loses a little bit of its
That's
luster.
why I looked down. I'm like, damn, muted.
But you know what? I mean, again, it goes to look. You look at the power play, situation. 2-2. Both teams had 2 power play goals. Now, obviously, you don't want to give up 2 power play goals a game. That's not necessarily a long-term recipe for success. But it does seem like if you're the Winnipeg Jets, if you're able to at least play your opponents to equal when it comes to the special teams, you're going to be able to score at 5-on-5. Now, this is one of the rare games. If you look into some of the,
I agree with Kim. These guys are NHL players. They can they can deal with time zones and travel.
I'm not believe me. I'm not lamenting it for them. I'm just saying that I just thought it was an interesting, scheduling quirk.
You're definitely lamenting.
No lament. The point is, I thought it was an interesting quirk. And look, I think overall, this is from a Jets team that didn't play their best game against Dallas on Saturday, but and could have had a point in that one. Didn't, of course. 4 out of their last 5, right? You've now tied Colorado. We always talk about banking points. Yeah. You've banked another 2, and that's significant for the Jets who, continue. They had that little bit of a, again, they weren't getting the points. Now they do. What is this now? 9 of the last 10, I think, Drew. They've got points in. So, and what is it? What is the biggest difference? The second line. We talked however you want to number your lines. Remember, Pascal Vincent, the old Moose coach, now, of course, Columbus coach, always said, oh, I don't have lines. So, but we do. And the second line, as we call it, wasn't producing. And now, as some folks, and most of them, especially Phyllis, who's in charge of the Nikolai Ehlers fan club, she must be happy because Nikolai was not only was he getting it done with his hands, Ezzy, but he was getting it done with his hands in all areas, in standing up for his teammates, which of course we'll talk about during the recap. And that's going to go a long way, I suspect.
Okay, before we get into the recap, can we also, Dave and I were talking about this watching the game here in the third period. Like, how does the referee?
It's insane.
How does
he's
the
standing
referee,
right there staring at it?
And I'm not just saying this to get Drew going, because Drew was a very good floor hockey referee back in his day.
Hey,
but
I was an ice.
Standing there.
I was an ice hockey referee before I was a floor hockey referee.
Scouting the refs.
I mean, you had a higher profile when you were reffing the Jewish Students Association Floor Hockey League. I believe we were co-commissioners one year.
We were.
I think I might have even shown up half the time. But
those who can do, those who can't officiate is, I think, what my slogan is.
No, hey, I work at Hockey Manitoba, so I appreciate all the officials. I think we're up to 1,800 now, so I appreciate everybody that officiates across our beautiful province. But no, let's get back to that though. Like the referee, sorry, I forgot who the ref was tonight. He's standing there. I mean, that is textbook boarding from Brendan Smith on Nemesnikov. It's ridiculous. I actually said to Dave, I don't even know if they're going to give Brendan Smith a penalty on that play, but it was kind of ridiculous. Like Brendan Smith is 50 or 60 pounds more than Nemesnikov. There's a big size difference, but I agree with Dave too. Like, good on Ehlers for stepping up there, because that's a big step up in weight class.
Well, you know what, and he didn't blink about it. The referees in tonight's game, by the way, were Furman South and Chris Schlenker.
Comment from James Robinson.
That was a funny comment from James Robinson. For those on the podcast, he wants to know if I reffed floor hockey from a lawn chair. Sometimes I think I did.
That might get a toque. I'll be honest.
Yeah, I mean, they weren't paying me enough to run. Yeah, they weren't paying me enough to run fast at that point in time. But look, I don't understand it for the life of me, David. The officials were, he was staring at it. It couldn't be, it was textbook boarding.
He was 5 feet away.
I was like, and then all of a sudden, okay, so you don't make the initial call, and then Ehlers comes in, and in order to not, you give him a cross-checking penalty, even though there was no cross-check involved.
Yeah.
He just came in and dropped his gloves immediately. Like, nothing about that sequence left anybody watching that game with confidence that the officials knew what they were doing.
No,
Exactly.
I mean, again, we're not here with Jets colored glasses on our eyes right now, because I don't even wear glasses, Drew. But the fact is that was a textbook in the numbers cross check, and like as you said, there's a big size disparity between Smith and Nemesnikov, but
at the end of the day, boarding is boarding.
Oh, for sure. I mean, again, it is, and the funniest part is they called it boarding after the fact because his hand didn't go up. Now, I don't know if the back referee made that call, but I mean, there's no excuse for the ref who is 5 feet away watching the play. You can't, what did you say? I was watching the puck. I didn't see it. Like, come on, it's embarrassing. It really is embarrassing to miss that. And then, of course, Ehlers comes to his teammate's defense, and good on him. And that's the kind of, like, the one thing about Nikolai Ehlers, again, we always laugh about it, but he always seems to take on the biggest guys, like Jamie Benn, Smith. Like, I don't remember who else. Oh, Getzlaf. Like, he always fights big guys. Like, it's very funny how he gets into, I guess everybody's really bigger than Nikolai Ehlers is probably.
I'm telling you though, Dave, he's so agile on his skates. Like, Ehlers is a light guy. Like, what is he, 170 pounds or something?
Sure.
But he's so strong on his skates that, like, it's actually kind of interesting to watch him fight. Like, he obviously, Brendan Smith, like, won that fight. Like, we'll have to wait for hockeyfights.com to, they do their little, who won the fight. But I don't think anybody cares. The reality is, good on Ehlers for stepping up for Nemesnikov. Like, he doesn't have to do that. And obviously, Scott Arniel and, Brad Lauer and Marty Johnson, they're probably on the bench, just thinking to themselves, like, what are you doing? Don't get injured. We need those hands to score us goals.
They're thinking, don't get injured. But at the same time, they're also thinking this is the kind of camaraderie and the kind of team we want to see.
That's how you compete, Drew.
Well, think about it. In Toronto, when not to bring it, but last week when
always about the Leafs with you, Mendel.
But when Liljegren goes down on the Marchand, the questionable Marchand hit, and then nobody steps up to take on Marchand, and then it's a talking point for the next 3 weeks or whatever, or however long it was, in Toronto. So I mean, this one, at least there was no blinking of an eye. The Jets immediately responded and reacted as they should have in that instance.
Yeah, no, you're right, Drew. And that's one of those things, again, that's about camaraderie. It's about team building. And to me, that's going to go a long way. It's as important as, and people can say, oh, fighting is antiquated and outdated. But when you stand up for a teammate, when you see a hit that you don't like, I mean, look, there's nothing that's worse. And I'm not trying to turn this into a Moose thing, but Nikita Chibrikov had a big hit, which we've, of course, put on our socials, so hopefully everybody saw it. Or even Mark Scheifele's hit to bring it to tonight's game, which I thought was a totally legitimate hit, drew a crowd, and you have to answer for it. But, like, this is the type of hit you should have to answer for. This is the type of hit that you want a guy to challenge. This is a bad hit to me that you want to challenge someone for it. So good on Nikolai Ehlers for stepping up for a teammate. Already had the goal, so that he was already feeling good, and beautiful pass, of course, by Cole Perfetti. We'll get into that obviously in a little bit, but yeah, it's one of those very unusual situations, Drew, because you're wondering what the hell is the referee thinking, and you just cannot. Again, this isn't a homer situation. This is just inexplicable. You can't watch that game and see. There's no better angle than they showed the pull away, and the ref is staring at when they're showing the replay. The ref is watching it, and you're like, "What are you watching?" and not seeing. And see, again, this is
no gray area there.
But this is where, if refs were accountable, if the refs had to answer questions, I'd love to know what the ref is thinking when he watches that play. Because we always hear hockey's a really fast game. There ain't nothing fast about that play. You're watching it. You're seeing it unfold in front of you, and you somehow don't call that penalty, which of course leads to that fight. So anyways.
Even I would have made that call from my floor hockey official's lawn chair. That's how blatant it was. Let's get into the goal-by-goal recap. It's the Betway game recap.
The Betway game recap.
Big thanks to our friends at Betway for their continued support of the Illegal Curve post-game show. With a large selection of betting options in sports, as well as strong promotions and fair odds, what are you waiting for? Head on over to Betway and bet your way. Must be 19 years or older to play. Please play responsibly. Like I said, big thanks to Betway for their continued support. No scoring in the first period. Jets had a very good opportunity. Akira Schmidt probably made his best save of the game, denying, if I recall correctly, was Cole Perfetti in tight on the redirection that happening in the first period, but not a lot of action in that first period as compared to the second and third period. Shots were 9-7 for the Jets after 20 minutes. The Jets do open the scoring 8:07 into the second period. It's sort of funny to think that most of these 9 goals, the vast majority of these 9 goals came in the last 30 minutes of tonight's game. So the first 30 minutes had almost no goals. The last 30 minutes had had about 9 goals or so.
But Drew, you're going to just gloss over the Rasmus Kupari injury that led to the 10 and I mean, come on, that happened in the first period. Mindy.
It did happen in the first period. Kupari left the game early. Update on him is it's a shoulder injury, and
by the way, I called it a shoulder.
Congratulations,
everybody else,
doctor.
Weber said it was a wrist. Somebody else, I think Mikey McIntyre said it was an arm, and I was with my non-MD up at the press box saying, looked like his shoulder. And then someone else said it was his leg. I'm like, what is going on right now? How is everybody seeing everything amiss? So it is a shoulder. Okay, that makes sense.
I guess it depends. I mean, if it's a separated shoulder or a sprain, we'll find out soon. But I mean, it's possible that that's short term, or I guess it could be long term, right? Like, it's tough to say at this point.
Will be reevaluated on Wednesday. Timeline and severity not yet known. That courtesy of Jets head coach Scott Arniel via many of our friends in the assembled media who are tweeting the post-game comments. So
could be Axel Janssen-Fjällby call-up time, Drew.
Well, it could be AJF. It could be Dominic Toninato. He was up here most recently. Yep. But,
let me tell you, boys, after the last 2 games that the Moose played against Laval, they should go to Norfolk and call them up because nobody was good. Actually, Jeff Malott was okay, but he got suspended for the second game.
Shout out to Leon Pinkovich, loyal IC viewer.
Yes, there you go. So the Jets open the scoring at the 8:07 mark of the second period. Kyle
Drew,
Connor.
You didn't mention Neil Pionk playing in his 400th NHL game.
You're right, I didn't. Kyle Connor gets his
Drew,
12th.
You also didn't mention the 50 Devils fans in attendance.
You're right, I didn't.
Drew, you also didn't mention that Nikolai Ehlers, this is a fun fact. Hold on, fun fact. Let's see how fun you think it is. Nikolai Ehlers.
I can tell you how fun I think it is.
Nikolai Ehlers.
You want to have some fun?
Nikolai Ehlers moved ahead of Slava Kozlov, the uncle of Vlad Nemesnikov.
I didn't know that was his uncle.
For games played for the Jets Thrashers franchise.
Fun fact.
Also, Drew, you didn't mention that we saw each other at kids pickup, and then we saw each other again. Well, we didn't see each other. I saw your daughter at Pan Am Pool. You didn't mention that.
You're right. I didn't.
All right, Drew. We're not. We'll stop filibustering you. Continue.
I know.
Drew mentioned that it was Brendan Dillon's birthday on Monday.
I know as soon as I start talking, you guys are going to interrupt me again.
No,
happy 33rd birthday to Brendan Dillon.
I'll watch this. I'll mute myself.
I might kick both of you out of the studio to be on the safe side is what I might do. Kyle Connor gets his 12th of the year. Thank you very much. Josh Morrissey, his first of 4 assists tonight, tying the franchise record that has been tied 3 times in the last 2 weeks. It's a hell of a franchise record. Alex Iafallo also drawing the assist, and the Jets lead 1-0 here. And it's a nice play by Kyle Connor. He gathers up his own rebound, and he comes in and he's able to just use his speed. And the Devils are puck watching and nobody picks him up, and he deposits his own rebound past Akira Schmidt to tie it, to make it 1-0 for the Jets.
Okay, this is no joke though. Mark Scheifele almost scored right before that sequence happened, right? Yes. I saw, it's funny because Drew and I obviously weren't at the game. Well, I guess maybe people wouldn't know that. Drew and I knew that. Dave M was at the game, and Mikey McIntyre, Dave, like a bunch of people were saying that they thought that was in because it was a hell of a shot. But yeah, I mean, to me, this is just Kyle Connor rocket boost, activated. Like, it's incredible how he decides, he sees a little bit of open ice. He saw everybody kind of turning the other way, and then the rocket skates came on. And as you mentioned, he puts it on net, gets his own rebound. Like, there was a lot of good stuff happening in the Devil's zone for the Jets there, but that was pretty much the Kyle Connor show there.
Yeah, I mean, it's he just it was good cycle, good puck movement, and yeah, when after he took his shot, it's like he took a jumper in basketball. He followed up his own rebound and gathered his own rebound before the Devils could react to the fact that he had gathered up that rebound and put it past Schmidt. Dave, it was really what you want to see: aggressive play from Kyle Connor, doing what only he can do as of late, which is of course tying with his second goal in the game, which he gets later. He tied Austin Matthews for the goal scoring lead in the NHL, but I don't think Connor's count because he's not in Toronto.
It's a good point. And he is, of course, coming off being named second star of the NHL for last week. But look, I mean, it's interesting. He didn't have last year. He obviously had a slower year by his standard, only 31 goals. If you couldn't see this because you're listening on the podcast, I put air quotes around that. But the fact is that he is well ahead, of course, of his mark from last year. And he's, his 12 goals at that point, Drew, were, I think it took him till December 15th, 29 games in last year. So he's well ahead of where he was
ahead of pace where he was last year.
He is. And look, he can clearly, it's funny because Weber today asked him in the morning skate, they say in baseball, the ball looks bigger when you're on a hot streak. And is the net bigger for Kyle Connor? He didn't really have an answer for that, but I joked with Weber after when he scored. I go, I guess the net is bigger because right now it just seems to be that everything he is shooting, and he's shooting a lot more. He's leading the Jets in shots this season. He had 62 coming into the game. I don't know how many he finished with tonight, but it's just again, it's just a function of, and I thought the Devils misplayed this. The Devils had three forwards all high. They looked like they were trying to get out of the zone. And yeah, as he's right, we were all kind of like, oh, I thought Mark Chevy scored. It turned out I think it hit crossbar, came back out, but it was quick. And then Kyle Connor, good on him, determined, found that puck and then buried into the back of the net to give the Jets a 1-0 lead.
Yeah, the Jets make it 2-0 a few minutes later, 5 minutes and 47 seconds later on the power play. So they've shut down the Devils' power play thus far. Well, the one power play opportunity that the Devils had with Ehlers in the box in the first period. And the Jets make it 2-0. This is with Cole Perfetti getting his 5th of the year. Talk about another guy who's absolutely on fire as of late and really blossoming into the young star that we all suspected he would become.
7-game point streak. It's incredible.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
I think I'm going to take back moving Perfetti back to center, Drew. A couple of weeks ago, I was on that train with you, but I'm getting off the train, Drew. There's a stop, and I'm taking it.
Okay, you can take that stop. Perfetti, his 5th, assist to Kyle Connor and Josh Morrissey. So that's 2 points for Connor, 2 points for Morrissey so far. And it's not a pretty one. This isn't one that's going to go on the highlight reel. This isn't one that's going to go he's going to gather around the youngins to talk about when he's an elderly grandfather. But they count just the same. And it's a bit of a knuckler, and it's a bit of just a floater, and it's all got all sorts of sort of ugliness surrounding it, and it deflects off of the Devils defenseman. In this case, Kevin Ball is involved in this one, but nonetheless, it's beautiful on the scoreboard, and it's 2-0 for the Jets at this point, Dave.
No, I mean, look, you're absolutely right, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really make a difference. I mean, the fact is that Perfetti's hot, and it's something he's never done at the pro level. He's never scored 4 goals in his 4 straight games. So for him, he's feeling good about himself. And as he just said, he's got a big point streak going. His line is going. And that's what we've said was key to the Jets' success. The IFL O'Connor and Scheifele line, they were going. The Lowry, Appleton, Niederreiter line was going. But if you didn't have Nemestikov, Ehlers, and Perfetti also picking up the slack and being able to just score and contribute, it was going to be a tough thing for the Jets to kind of sustain. Well, now you've got that line going as well, and that's significant. And yeah, you're right. It doesn't count in the sense that it's like a beautiful goal. It's not a highlight reel goal, but he's doing the right thing. He's in the right spot. And you know what? Sometimes those are the ones that matter. And yeah, like I said, in the 2 seasons he played with the Moose, his best was he scored 4 goals in 3 games, but he never got that 4th goal. So he's on an impressive streak. And look, again, some of them are, empty nets. Some of them are flubs. Some of them are beauties. I mean, it's going to be all different types from Cole Perfetti. But ultimately, like I said, he's playing with more confidence, and his you can see it. Like he's playing with that. His body is matching his mind, and his mind is elite. Like his mind, his hockey sense is elite. and it's just a function of whether
Dave, are
he
you
can
like
catch up
veering
to
into
it.
the metaphysical here? Like, what's going on with like his mind and his body are in tune?
I'm just
Look,
suggesting
this was
that
the goal. Look, the Jets power play is clicking, right? And we've talked
Yeah.
about this. Like when the power play is clicking, you get those types of bounces. Drew's right. I mean, Kevin Ball, everybody knows Don Cherry would always talk about get that stick out of the way. He deflects it, but this goes under Akira Schmid's arm, like it goes through him.
It's an ugly goal.
It's an ugly goal. But to Dave's point, Cole Perfetti earned that goal, right? Like he puts the puck on net, and I mean, what is he going to not take that goal?
Take it. I don't want the goal anymore.
So
Take
I mean,
it
it's
back.
like the Jets' power play is moving the puck quicker, and I think they're not as stationary as they were early in the season. And even though Schmid would like to have that one back, give the Jets credit for continuing to be red hot on the power play. And yeah, I mean, Dave's right. Perfetti has never, I mean, like, he did this in the Ontario Hockey League and in the American Hockey League, but his game is really rounding into form. It really is. And even though Nick Ehlers, I don't think you guys would agree is quite where, even though he, had a great game tonight, his game is still not, at peak Ehlers level. So
consistency wise,
exactly. So once Ehlers, gets to where we think he'll be, then the Jets are going to be back to having 4 great lines.
Yeah, they are. And the thing about Perfetti is this is a player you can see that his confidence is building, and there's no, again, his as Dave said, and I'm not going to repeat it, you can see the confidence in the game and the brain and everything is beginning to come together for him, and that's absolutely what the Winnipeg Jets want to see. So 2-0 at this point in time. A few seconds after the goal, though, Dylan DeMello takes an interference penalty, and as he's sitting in the box, the Devils' lethal power play strikes. Timo Meier getting his 5th of the year, assist to Andre Palat and Jesper Bratt, and Meier is left alone in the high slot, and the pass comes through the seam, and he makes no mistake. He's an elite goal scorer in this league. He's been an elite goal scorer in this league for a long time, and give him that opportunity, and he's going to take advantage of it, and that's exactly what he does here, Ezzy, to make it 2-1 at the 14:54 mark of the second period.
Dave M will back me up here. A guy that I always admired on Tampa Bay that seemed to be just in that second tier after Kucherov and Stamkos and Point was Andre Palat. And you're absolutely right. Meier's a sniper, but that's just such a nice, sneaky little pass by Palat in the middle. And I mean, even though the Devils, as Drew mentioned, the Jets killed off, I forget if it was the first or the first 2.
First penalty, just the Ehlers
and the Devils, I don't think, had a shot, did they?
No, they
on
didn't.
That first power play, right? But even though the Jets, prevented them from getting a single shot on net, you could see that there's so much skill out there, and that's without Jack Hughes and without Nico Hischier, right?
Mm-hmm.
So again, I'm a Devils fan, so I'm obviously a little bit biased. I can take the the homerism, criticism, but I mean, come on, Luke Hughes, like wearing number 43. Just looks incredible, and Timo Meier, it's just a beautiful shot, and Hellebuyck doesn't have any chance on that one.
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, you have to. It was just a beautiful shot. And you have to talk about the Dylan Sandberg deflection off of it, and 2-1 at that point in time for the Winnipeg Jets. Pardon me. But then a minute and 12 seconds later, the game is tied up again, and this time it's John Marino, his 1st of the year, assist to Curtis Lazar and Luke Hughes. This one's ugly. The Jets are running around in their own zone, and Marino is aggressive. Comes down from the point after Luke Hughes he walks the line as the Devils move the puck from low to high, and John Marino jumps on the loose puck, jumps on the rebound after Connor Hellebuyck, makes not 1 save, not 2 saves, but he, at that point in time, Marino is able to deposit it behind him to tie it up at 2, Dave.
No, there's no question about it, Drew. And it's interesting because the Jets came out really well, right? The Jets, I think, had a 7-0 shot edge or 9-0 shot edge over the Devils to start that second period. So they really started that frame well. But yeah, you're right. That 1-2 punch in the face that tied the game. I mean, look, it was bad defense, plain and simple, because the Jets had possession of the puck and they just didn't get rid of it. Yeah. And then they played a little hot potato. And yeah, you're right. Look, you can malign Connor Hellebuck's numbers this season, but he makes the first save. He makes the second save. I mean, yeah, okay. Eventually, he's going to let it in on the third one, and that's what happens. And you're right. To me, you don't like that play, but it's a play where a number of players broke down and didn't do what they needed to do, and as a result, that's the kind of stuff.
Forecheck, Dave, by the third line.
For
Like,
sure.
right?
No, I'm not.
Eric Hall had a lot of good pressure there. Like,
Yeah.
and sorry, I just took over the Dave Manuk point, but I just wanted to say, good on the Devils. Like, they made it a 1-goal game, and then shortly after this, so they were all over the Jets at that point. So you're right. I mean, it was too scrambly, and I think.
But you're right, Ezzy. It starts with a good forecheck. I think the forecheck.
Yeah.
I think they come in and they hit DeMello, if I'm not mistaken, and that's what causes the turnover.
And Logan Stanley was out there, I remember, and I think Ehlers was out there, and Scheifele. I think it might have been in the middle of a line change.
Yeah,
but it was
it's more just
defense.
along the wall. Connor has a chance. He doesn't know where the puck is, and then they leave the man alone in the slot, and he puts. It's a number of guys who just aren't paying attention to what's going on, and as a result, suddenly a period that started out really well for you is now suddenly tied 2-2 and
sucks
a little air out of the building.
That's the thing, right? Like, the Jets were badly outplaying the Devils, especially in the first 5 or 6 minutes of that second period. But that's all it takes, and that's the fear, right? That's why Scott Arniel was joking, Dave. You were there today. Like, he was joking that you don't take a lot of penalties, and even though the Jets win 6-3, they still give up 2 power play goals. So I mean, this Devils power play is for real.
No question about it. But then the Winnipeg Jets respond. Like we said, they've been punched in the jaw. How are you going to respond after you get punched in the jaw? And for the Winnipeg Jets, they responded quickly and decisively. 2 minutes and 4 seconds later, Nikolai Ehlers gets his third of the season assist to Cole Perfetti and Dylan Samberg. And, you talk about a strong forecheck, and this starts with a forecheck by the Winnipeg Jets. It starts with a forecheck, by Ehlers and by Perfetti, and Ehlers forces a turnover behind the Devils' net, and then Perfetti does some of his Perfetti magic, and he starts wheeling and dealing with the puck, and Ehlers is left alone. They forget about Ehlers. Again, the Devils are puck watching, and Perfetti, demonstrating that tremendous vision, finds Ehlers by himself, no Devil anywhere near him at the side of the net, and hits him with the perfect pass. And, we saw a couple Jets goals tonight that were set up by absolutely perfect passes. This one, and of course the next Kyle Connor one on the power play. But this one is a great play by Perfetti to find Ehlers, but also you have to make mention of the play by Ehlers in the first place to force the turnover behind the Devils' net that leads to this opportunity, Ezzy.
Yeah, and what about just the nice, like simple little pass that Samberg gives to Ehlers, that gives to Perfetti at the blue line? Like, instead of maybe putting that puck on net or putting it back in the corner. But you're right. Like, the thing that I love about this, and you're right, Nemesnikov does good work behind the net.
Yeah,
Ehlers does some good work behind the net. Like, mucking it up and playing down low and cycling is not like what you think of at first when you think of this line, right? Like, you think of Perfetti and Ehlers' vision. Nemestikov's obviously a well-rounded forward, but you think of this line as more of a speed line that's going to score off of transition, right? So you got to love the fact that the work that they did on this goal. But I mean, yeah, Ehlers just gets lost. He curls around behind the net, and you're right. I mean, the Perfetti pass, but I just wanted to get Samberg in there too, because I think Dave M is the original president of the Samberg fan club, but and obviously everyone was talking about Samberg's 9 block shots the other night.
Yeah.
But I thought, Samberg just continues just to be noticeable and solid out there. And on this one, just a simple play there, I thought, just, to get it to Perfetti. And then obviously Perfetti just has the incredible vision. You're absolutely right. I mean, I think, Dave mentioned it earlier, Perfetti's confidence seems to be at an all-time high, but these types of passes, that's what we talked about, boys, in the preseason, because Ehlers didn't play any preseason games. And we kept talking about, just give Ehlers and Perfetti a little bit more time. And now they're starting to get that Scheifele Connor type of Kavarka.
Well, Andrew, just before,
sorry, go ahead,
just before, I was just going to say, you got to give Ehlers credit, because it wasn't just that the Devils lost him. It's that he created that time and space for himself to, they were 2 guys down. He saw the opportunity, got up quick, curled around the net, and created that time and space for Perfetti to hit him. So, credit Ehlers for making that available for Perfetti to hit him. And again, all around good work by that second line to give the Jets a much needed third goal.
Yeah, so 3-2 for the Winnipeg Jets after 40 minutes. And, if you didn't watch any of this game and you didn't pay any attention to any of this game and you just sort of looked at the box score, you'd say, Connor Hellebuyck, gives up 3 goals on 34 shots. That's what the Devils ended up with. Not great numbers. But really, you saw Connor Hellebuyck really at his best, I thought, in the first 5 to 7 minutes of this third period, including on a power play opportunity as Brendan Dillon takes takes that early high sticking penalty in the third period. Connor Hellebuyck really sort of, I thought, was kept the Jets and their lead during this flurry. The Devils, I thought, were the better of the two teams in the first 5 to 8 minutes of the third period, and he didn't blink. He was, what you want to see from Connor Hellebuyck. So the numbers to me are probably a little misleading regarding how important he was to the Winnipeg Jets' performance tonight, particularly in that third period before the Jets were able to expand the lead, Ezzy.
Yeah, you're right. And obviously, the Dawson Mercer goal, that's garbage time, right? Like that goal was not not going to bring the Devils back into the game. So I agree with you. I mean, like, a lot of people I see in the chat talking about Hellebuyck, and, if he gets back to the kind of 925 save percentage Hellebuyck, 930 save percentage Hellebuyck that we've grown accustomed to, then, the Jets are really going to be unstoppable. And I agree, but, the Jets are winning these games. And, to me, like, would you rather have a Jets team that, relies so heavily on Hellebuyck to steal games?
No,
or would you have, like, don't get me wrong, I don't want an 870 save percentage Hellebuyck or an 880 save, whatever his save percentage is now. But all I'm saying is, like, I think going back to what we talked about on this Saturday morning show, like the 5-on-5 improvements, I think, where obviously the majority of the game is played. Maybe not so much tonight with all the power plays, because I think there was 10 or at least 9 power plays between the two teams, right? But I think, Hellebuyck, look, how many of these goals would you say were weak goals on Hellebuyck? I don't think I would say any of them were weak goals on him tonight. I can't say the same for Schmid, by the way.
No, you cannot say the same thing for Schmid. That's very true. But I don't think anyone's saying that these were weak goals given up by Connor Hellebuyck.
All I'm saying is, just I think you gotta pump the brakes a little bit. I think Hellebuck's going to be fine. I think he's still playing well, but I just think that, like, we're so used to Hellebuyck only allowing 1 or 2 goals a game that he lets in 3 goals a game, and we think all of a sudden he's Andre Red Light Rasico.
The Jets expand the lead. It turns out to be the game-winning goal. It comes at the 9:54 mark. It's also on the power play. This is the Jets' second power play marker of the game. Kyle Connor, he's up to 13 goals now. Assist to Mark Scheifele.
Did you know he was tied for the league, Drew?
No, I hadn't heard that. Who's he tied with? Probably some bum that nobody ever talks about.
Some I don't know. I think he plays for the Leafs, maybe. I'm not sure.
Nah, it doesn't sound familiar. Not familiar. Connor, his 13th assist to Mark Scheifele and Josh Morrissey. And I'm going to give this one, gentlemen, our Seagram's shot of the game.
The Seagram shot of the game.
Big thanks to our friends at Seagram's for their sponsorship and their support of the Illegal Curve post-game show. I'd love to give it to Mark Scheifele's pass, because the pass, I mean, it's hard to tell what's better here. Is it the pass or is it the shot? Because both of them are absolutely...
We could start doing the Seagram's pass, like the Seagram's pass out of the game. Get it? Like you drink so much Seagram's that you pass out. No,
Thank you. We got it. You didn't need to explain the joke. It's a good rule of thumb. If you need to explain the joke, it's not that funny. But Dave, this is just
Drew knows he's in the comedy business.
It's true. It's a spectacular pass from Mark Scheifele on his backhand. You don't usually hit seam passes on your backhand really from the boards all the way across the ice in a perfect spot for Kyle Connor to absolutely rip it home. But that's what happened in this instance.
Who's probably the one player on the Jets you don't want to leave that wide open? Kyle Connor.
Kyle Connor.
And that's what the Devils do. When
I was going to say Brendan Dillon, but sure, Kyle Connor.
Sure, that is true. The sniper Brendan Dillon. That is, he could hit career highs for goals, so that's a fair one. But
he's going to hit that high.
Oh, he's going. Yeah, I suspect you're right. But that wasn't one of our over-unders, so it matters not. But Kyle Connor, that was one of our over-unders. So look, Kyle Connor is just on another level right now. And yeah, you're right. That pass by Mark Scheifele is spectacular. And, Cole Perfetti was open. He had tried to offer it. Like, he was good as a feint, and then Scheifele makes no mistake, gets it right over there. And then, Kyle Connor, I mean, it's amazing, Drew. He's now eclipsed Mark Scheifele for the most game-winning goals in Jets 2.0 history. That was the 46th of his career. He had tied Scheifele previously, and now, of course, he is now one ahead of him. So real nice goal. And yeah, you're right. It's textbook on the power play. And again, talking about the Jets special teams, PK, not a huge shocker given how good the Devils have been, even though, as you said, without Heischer and Hughes. They're still pretty lethal. I think Scott Arniel said Jesper Bratt had like 14 points on the power play alone this season. So pretty impressive numbers from what New Jersey's been able to do. But the Jets are showing that their power play is starting to find its way, finding its life again. And again, their 5-on-5 play has been solid. So if you're getting those special teams to work, it's going to be a huge benefit. And Kyle Connor, I mean, what more can we say, guys, right? I mean, he's on pace for, what is it, like 76
60.
goals? No, 76 now. 76.
Well, 76 would be a very fitting number for a guy to score that many goals in Winnipeg.
76 goals, and not only is he on pace for 76 goals, he's on pace for his first over 100-point season. I think it's about 109 right now. If you extrapolate as on pace for,
he's got to get those assists up there, though, Dave. He doesn't have enough assists. What is he, 13 and 7 or something?
It's not the even Steven from Kyle Connor that we're used to seeing. I agree with you, but ultimately, I mean, look, he's having a season that, you know, we all expected, and nobody is going to be surprised if Kyle Connor gets to 50 goals. I don't think any of the three of us or any of the 350 who are in the chat right now are going to be surprised that Kyle Connor gets to 50 goals this season. Although if he gets to 60 and he gets to 70, which is possible, wow, wouldn't that be something? But I mean, this we've been watching him since the Jets drafted him in 2015, and we saw what he was able to do at Michigan and the way he scored with the Wolverines, and then obviously when he got hot with the Moose. And he's continuing that is in his pro career with the Jets. So nobody's terribly surprised. We've always known he's a great goal scorer, but he could have a career year this season.
That backhand pass, I agree with Drew. The fact that it's such a hard backhand pass, that's the thing. Like that would definitely make Adam Oates. Like I feel like Scheifele and Oates are going to talk for like 2 hours if they're already not already talking, and like Oates is just gonna he's just gonna be like, man, that pass. That was like when I used to feed some guy named Cam Neely back in the day.
I thought you were going to say
Brett Hull. I was going to say I would have gone with Hull.
I would have gone with Brett Hull too. More than Cam Neely there, but that's okay. We'll let it slide.
No, you're right. Fair enough. I should have said Brett Hull.
Jets
speaking of 70 goal seasons.
Yeah, there you go. Jets make it 5-2. 2 minutes and 4 seconds later.
Drew, before you go, tell me.
Am I leaving?
No. But tell me. Hold on one second.
You could leave, Drew.
Hold on one second. Hold on. Let's get that.
Yeah, I know. I knew what you're going to bring up. It's the Kyle Connor, Doug Smale lookalike.
Tell me Kyle Connor doesn't look like Doug Smale.
I knew you were going to bring it up. I was going to bring it up afterwards.
It's the ginger thing too, right? Like,
honestly,
the ginger, the stash.
They were both snipers.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of. They do look very similar. They do look
Doug
like
Smale used to
very
get
similar.
I mean, we all Grew up watching the.
Shout out Reddit because that wasn't an original Dave M. I saw the folks at Reddit.
He used to get like one breakaway every game, Dave.
Yeah, he was so
the
fast.
King of the breakaways, so speedy. Yeah, that was a good one. I don't think I've liked that tweet yet, Dave, but I'll go back and like that one.
Please do.
Now, Dave's been waiting for you.
Although it's on our Instagram, and folks seem to really appeal to a lot of folks on Instagram.
This has become
way to steal the content
show. Yeah,
I stole content. But I see, Drew. It's not stealing when you credit the people that came up with it. The credit first, and I give them credit. Unlike a lot of folks.
Morgan Barron makes it 5-2 for the Winnipeg Jets. This is 2 minutes and 4 seconds after Kyle Connor made it 4-2. It's Barron's third assist to Nemesnikov and Neil Pionk. And again, this is on a forecheck. This starts with a strong forecheck by Vlad Nemesnikov against, I think also it was Kevin Ball again. Kevin Ball is bigger than Nemesnikov. I don't think that's breaking news to anybody.
How did the Devils get Kevin Ball again, Drew? Was that from Colorado? They acquired him in a trade. I remember that. I'd have to go back and look.
Yeah,
he had a rough game, and that's the thing too. Like I keep going back to that, but this Devils
was in Arizona, is he? I thought Arizona. Right. I think it's Arizona who traded him.
Yeah, because he was a pretty high draft pick. I remember that. But when you're talking about the Devils, like I said, they're scoring goals, but they're just allowing too many goals. And this one is the cliche insurance goal, right? Like it's still a 2-goal game. And that's why I said like Dawson Mercer's power play goal that he scores. I mean, that makes it a 2-goal game.
You guys ready for this trade? You ready for how the Devils got Kevin Ball? The Arizona Coyotes acquire Taylor Hall. This is back on December 16th, 2019. So the Arizona Coyotes acquired Taylor Hall.
It was a big package.
And somebody named Blake Spears. In exchange for Nick Merkley, Nathan Schnarr, Kevin Ball, and then the 2020 first-round pick that turned out to be Dawson Mercer and a 2021 third-round pick, Ryder Korzak. So it was the old 5-for-1 sort of trade back in 2019.
the reality is Dawson Mercer is. I tweeted
player
this.
on that
Dawson
trade.
Mercer is like, to me, he's a guy that, like, honestly, like, no joke, could be in consideration for the Canadian World Cup team in like a fourth line role. Like, this guy is. I don't know if he's ever going to get to like be like an 80 or 90 point guy, but I think he's going to be like just a really good, solid, like 60 to 70 point guy. Obviously a newfie, so got to get that in there too. But like, this guy just hustles, and he's good. He's fast, and he's skilled, and he can body check. Like, I really like Dawson Mercer. Again, I'm a Devils fan, so this is your disclaimer. I'm a big Devils fan and a big Dawson Mercer fan. But yeah, on this particular goal, Drew, you nailed it, right? Like, Nemesnikov puts a lot of pressure on Kevin. I was part of the Taylor Hall to Arizona trade, and yeah, the Devils are just kind of slow to react here. And great feed by Nemesnikov to Morgan Barron, a guy that I know Dave M really likes talking about Morgan Barron, but we haven't talked about him a lot. But you got to give Morgan Barron credit, Dave, considering that he's moved down to the fourth line and he hasn't complained, and he's producing, and he's made this Jets fourth line more dangerous than it's been in a long time.
Well, no, and that to me is key, right? Because, and we've talked about that. It's great. You need your first line to be doing what they're doing. You need all the lines to be contributing. But this is for the first time in years, this Jets club. Well, we don't know right now because as for tonight's game, Ezzy, they had one player on the fourth line.
I was just going to say
Morgan Barron.
Morgan Barron was kind of not really on
line.
the fourth line. He was kind of like on the 3B line. Like,
yeah.
But yeah, it's a good point, because the 2/3 of the fourth line was in the infirmary room.
Yes, exactly. So the fourth line was a bit of a mishmash tonight, but it's Morgan Barron being on the fourth line is something that Drew talked about at the beginning of the season. It was that idea of the Jets being a much more deep team. And so with that depth, you have a guy like Barron who played on the third line and sometimes moved up higher. He's playing on that fourth. So he doesn't have as much opportunity, but you're right, as he's not complaining about it. He's got a smile on his face, he's going to work, and that's a big goal for him, because you want those guys to feel like they're contributing. And obviously it's not a fourth line goal based on what we just talked about, but ultimately you needed him to be able to contribute, to feel like everybody's got a piece of that game.
Yeah, exactly right. And it was a full team effort, 5-2 at this point for the Jets. The Devils make it 5-3, as his aforementioned boyfriend, Dawson Mercer, gets it on the power play. That comes with 5 minutes and 43 seconds to go. And at that point in time, the Jets are able to keep the Devils at bay until Nikolai Ehlers wraps up the goal scoring. 9 goals in the final 32 minutes of tonight's contest. Ehlers into the empty net, his 4th of the year, assist to Mason Appleton and Josh Morrissey. That's Morrissey's. Talk about a quiet 4-point night. Josh Morrissey probably had the quietest 4.4 assist night that you can have. He gets 4 assists tonight for the Winnipeg Jets, and ultimately it's a 6-3 victory for the Jets. They win on home ice to start the homestand, or continue the homestand. Pardon me.
Start the homestand. No, we have to go through all these games again.
Honestly, with the amount of days between games, it kind of seems like it almost seems like the Jets are continually starting a homestand.
Well, they have their first back. I'll tell you what, the Jets would gladly take back-to-backs that don't involve any travel, and that's what they have coming up Friday, Saturday. Against the Buffalo Sabres on Friday. A Sabres team worth noting, Tage Thompson is going to be out of their lineup indefinitely. Suffered a couple of different injuries in tonight's game that the Sabres were playing. He suffered the first injury. He left. He came back, and then I think he took a shot off of his wrist. And based on the reports out of Buffalo, he's going to be out, and it's not a short-term injury. So it's a long-term injury, which is an absolute killer for Buffalo.
That's crazy.
Tage Thompson. Yeah, that is crazy.
Because he left the game. I saw the injury where it took place, and he looked a little bit slow, and I'm surprised they put him, like when I read, I saw, I don't remember who was tweeting about it, but like one of the guys that we follow from Buffalo, and he's like, oh, he's back in the game. I'm like, oh, I'm surprised they put him back in the game, because he didn't look right after that. And it was a different one, though. I think it was his wrist.
It was a separate injury. I mean, he suffered he suffered that first injury, came back, and then suffered a separate one.
By the way, bad times. And like Buffalo. You said, Drew, if he's out for any extended period of time,
and it is,
I mean, that's like the equivalent of Kyle Connor being out of the lineup for the Jets, right? Like Tage Thompson obviously had his breakout year last year, right?
Nobody could could stop him. He's massive. He's absolutely massive and skilled and everything else, and that's a huge loss for the Buffalo Sabres. But obviously, the Winnipeg Jets will try and reap that advantage on Friday night, as the Jets and the Sabres will do battle before the Jets and the Coyotes on Saturday night. Sorry, Dave, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I saw Garrett and a few others were saying that Josh Morrissey has 5 assists in the game. I went and looked at the official scoring, and it says 4. Someone says that there may be changing one, but which would be if Morrissey hits 5. I don't remember him getting the 5th assist. So it would either be on the which goal?
I don't know which one it would be.
It's either the Barron one or the Ehlers one.
Well, he wasn't on the ice for the Barron one, and
so
he wasn't.
Morrissey had 5 assists in a game before. I don't think he has.
No. Nobody has. The high is 4.
Yeah, and he wasn't on the ice for the. Now, granted, he doesn't necessarily have to be on the ice to be credited with an assist.
I understand, but Perfetti took the shot.
Yeah, no, I don't see Ehlers getting. I don't see Morrissey getting a 5th assist here anywhere.
Yeah,
but
I don't see it either.
And I refreshed the game. I refreshed the official score sheet, and they haven't updated anything along those lines.
So Garrett's saying John Lou said it was the Barron one.
It will be the Barron one. Well,
okay, we're going back. This is so that maybe they'll take it away.
Great avatar from Garrett, by the way.
And Alexander Burmistrov. So Nemestikov gets the hit. Oh, but they haven't actually shown. So I guess maybe Morrissey's the one who dumped the puck in. And that's the reason why.
Pionk dumped the puck in. But
how's that possible? Morrissey isn't even on the ice. It's
what's right. Dylan, I think they're confusing Morrissey and Pionk in this instance. 4 and 44.
I was gonna say Dylan and Pionk were the guys on the ice at that point.
Yeah, I know. We'll see. Anyways, time will tell on that front, and if things change between now and the end of this broadcast, we will of course bring it to you, or it'll
Garrett,
be on illegalcurve.com.
Don't apologize. We love being derailed on this show, so that's there's nothing to apologize for that.
Yeah, usually we're the ones derailing the show ourselves.
No, the chat derails us sometimes.
Yeah. we appreciate
we're derailed by the chat.
Any assistance in derailing this program is well appreciated. So that wraps up the Betway game recap. It was a long one, 56 minutes when you combine the preamble and the recap. That's what happens when 9 goals are scored. When we come back, we will do a Tough Duck hardest hitting comment. Don't go anywhere. We'll do some Manitoba Moose minutes because they played 2 bad games that Dave wants to tell you all about. Much more to come. It's a Tuesday night. Drew Mindell, Dave Manouk, Ezra Ginsburg with you. It's the Illegal Curve post-game show.
Smash that like button, folks.
It rolls on.
Your coworkers love you because you always make them laugh. You're the life of the party with stories that have them rolling on the floor. Or maybe you're just the quiet one in the corner with the one-liners that just slay. Do you have what it takes to become Winnipeg's funniest person with a day job? Try your luck. Hit the stage at Rumors Comedy Club, and you could be walking away with $1,000 cash. Winnipeg's funniest person with a day job. Presented by Rumors. For all the details, head to rumorscomedyclub.com.
So you're a pizza person, you married a wing person, but somehow your kids are salad people. You can't pick your fam, but you can pick your BP meal deal, starting from $18.99 for takeout or delivery at bostonpizza.com.
The game can change just like that. Accidents happen when you aren't protected. So now what? Getting to your injury quickly can make all the difference. Help prevent them from being game changers with Linden Market Dental Center. Bonding, crowns, bridges, and dental implants. State-of-the-art treatments are available to help you get back in the game. To learn more, visit lindenmarketdentalcenter.com. Creating smiles for life.
Whoa, Ezzy, everything okay? You look stressed.
Of course I'm stressed. We're moving, the house is upside down, the kids failed miserably at packing the fine china, and my life is in chaos. Chaos!
Yes, that does sound like a problem.
What am I going to do?
Ezzy, relax. Rolly's Transfer Moving and Storage is the answer. With 60 years of experience in moving Manitobans and a track record of exemplary customer service, one call to Rolly's and your stress is gone. No job is too big or too small. Just visit Rollies.com and they will take it from there.
Thanks, Dave, and thank you, Rollies Transfer Moving and Storage, online at Rollies.com.
Boston Pizza harnessed Fanalytics to test if the game is better at home or at Boston Pizza. The results are irrefutable. Catch the game at Boston Pizza, powered by Fanalytics.
Are you dreaming of your very own backyard rink this winter, but dreading the work involved? Well, stress no longer because the Rink Guys are here to make it happen. The Rink Guys are Winnipeg's first outdoor skating rink installation and rink maintenance service. The Rink Guys offer free site evaluations and different rink construction options. Plus, they use a custom-sized liner to prevent any damage to your lawn. Lighting packages are also available to help illuminate your rink during those long, dark winter nights. To get your rink started today, visit therinkguys.com. For 3 generations and over 80 years, Tough Duck has been making apparel that works and plays as hard as the people who wear it. From jackets to work boots and everything in between, Tough Duck's clothing can handle the harshest environments, even the illegal curve hockey show. Work to live, live to play. Visit toughduck.com. We're back Tuesday night. The Illegal Curve post-game show rolls on. Have to get everyone to mark an important date on their calendar. This has just been locked in the last couple of days. Our next live on location broadcast at Boston Pizza on Taylor Avenue. It's going to double as an Illegal Curve holiday party. Come join us on Thursday, December the 7th. That is Thursday, December the 7th. The Jets are going to be in Denver to face the Colorado Avalanche, and we're going to be hosting at Boston Pizza Taylor Avenue. Food specials, drink specials. Ezzy's going to dress up like Santa Claus. It's going to be a tremendous night. Thursday, December the 7th at Boston Pizza on Taylor Avenue. More details to come in the coming days, but you can mark that on your calendar to join us for a holiday party. Gather with your loyal chatters and friends and IC viewers.
It's the first night of Hanukkah on December 7th.
Well, maybe we'll light a Hanukkah candle. Maybe we'll get Boston Pizza to serve some latkes, whatever it might be. We will be there doing a broadcast and shaking hands, and Ezzy's going to be handing out candy canes. And it's just
if you can find a Santa Claus outfit that fits me, I will wear it. I've never worn a Santa Claus costume.
I would say you're
maybe
almost
because I'm Jewish.
You're almost the perfect shape for Santa Claus, I would argue.
Yeah, I'm definitely portly.
There's some jolliness to you.
Ezzy, I've got the fireball. I've got the fireball onesie we can throw you in. It's not a Santa suit, but it might work.
Yeah, I'll be alcoholic Santa Claus.
Well, let's be honest. Most of those mall Santas, I don't think it's too big of a step away from that. In any event, Thursday, December the 7th, mark that on your calendar. We're going to be at Boston Pizza.
Who did they play that night?
Taylor Avenue, Colorado Avalanche.
Nice.
Literally just said
that earlier.
I did. They're going to be in Denver, so it would be odd if they were. I didn't actually say they were playing the Avalanche in your defense, but I said they're in Denver. Yeah,
there's no way that I've memorized the schedule. Like I can only,
no,
I know who
you didn't have to. You didn't really. You didn't have to.
Colorado Avalanche play in Denver. That much shouldn't be too big of a leaping off point, I think. But yes, the Denver. It's going to be the
Regardless,
Colorado
I wasn't
Avalanche.
really paying attention to you, Drew.
That's the bigger matzo ball there, my friend.
Now you're talking. Now you're talking. Update from Jets.
Drew.
Yes.
Got a little update. I got a little update right here for the. Hold on 1 second. I'm blocking it. The IC Farmery connection. If you're looking for some tasty IC beer.
Yes.
Already getting some rave reviews. If you want a discount code, discount $10 off online orders. If you order it, it's IC beer 10 off. IC beer, we'll put it in the chat in 1 second, 10 off. So if you go to Farmery,
is it case sensitive?
Well, just it's all uppercase.
Drew is entering that code right now.
Yeah. So IC beer 10
the letter
off.
or 10 the number?
10 the number.
I'm getting a little bit worried about Drew. I saw him sleeping outside of the Farmery outlet store at 2 Donald the other night.
So if you want some of this and you can get it for 10 off, you just go to the Farmery website and you can pick some up and you can get $10 off. Package of, I think
it's so delicious. If you haven't tried it yet, head down to actually run.
It's a 12 if you buy a 12 pack.
Pick it up.
So if you buy a 12 pack of IC beer, you got yourself $10 off. So there you go. Don't say you don't get anything from IC. We're getting you beer at a discount.
That's basically music to most people's ears. That's manna from heaven right there.
You don't think Ezzy's getting off the show so he can just go order himself some beer? You're crazy.
He's just going to blast right through your window like the Kool-Aid man entering and exiting a room. Basically. Update from Jets head coach Scott Arniel. David Gustafsson was a healthy scratch tonight. The logic being that they wanted to get Logan Stanley into a game. They were able to get Declan Chisholm into a number of games in that he's on a conditioning stint. Logan Stanley, got into this game because they wanted him to get a game, another game under his belt this season. So then they elected to make Gustafsson the healthy scratch. And then, of course, what happens is Kupari gets injured. So, best laid plans ultimately don't end up biting the Jets too badly tonight. But there's the answer for why Logan Stanley played and David Gustafsson didn't. I'm not sure.
Well, you wonder though, right, Drew? Sorry if Drew Wendell was telling me that I interrupt you too much. And
for the record, that's not me. For the record,
no,
Drew Wendell is not me.
Drew Wendell is a real person.
Yeah.
And I wonder if Kupari can't play if they go 11-7 again. I mean, I'm just speculating here, but Stanley actually played pretty well. I don't know. I imagine that means
Garrett likes him as a fourth liner, has he?
Sure. Why not?
Put him beside Morgan Barron.
Hold on, is it Stanimal or Stanzilla?
Well, I think there's a few.
Yeah.
My understanding, I think Stanimal makes more sense than neither of them makes sense. Sorry, let me rephrase. If I had to pick between two bad ones, I would say I would choose Stanimal more than Stanzilla.
Fair enough.
I like Stanzilla.
Okay, well, fair enough.
Stanimal, they're both good nicknames. Stanimal, Stanzilla.
They're all very reasonable. But there's your update on David Gustafsson.
Come on, Drewilla.
Post game show. Ezzy, do you have a Tough Duck hardest hitting comment for us?
I do. I've started there. I believe now that I've got admin privileges. Look at this. Watch this.
Hang on.
Ooh, look at that.
The Tough Duck hardest hitting comment.
Yeah, we're taking away your admin privileges as soon as this.
Yeah, get that. You should have hit that bumper earlier, Drew. We're going to give it to Andrew Hellebuyck. He drives. I believe I'm pronouncing Andrew's last name properly. I've seen him many times over the years watching the IC post-game show and the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. So hello to Andrew. Thanks again for joining us tonight. Perfetti coming along. Velarde, Perfetti, Ehlers in a couple weeks might look good. Leave Iafallo 55-81. He creates a little chaos for them. We were talking about this just last week, actually. And, I think it was with Teddy Wyman of the Winnipeg Sun. I'm not sure if Andrew was watching or listened on the podcast, but I kind of floated that out there because I agree. I mean, obviously the Scheifele-Connor pair is not going to be broken up, but Velarde, of course, was playing on the right wing before he was injured. So I think there's a good chance that Perfetti, Ehlers, and Velarde could be aligned, but I just like that comment. I mean, we talked about it. Perfetti's on a 7-game heater. Just an incredible game again tonight. So Andrew, send me an email, Ezra@illegalcurve.com, or slide into my DMs on X/Twitter, ICSEG. And I don't know if Andrew's won before. He might have, but whether he's been a winner before or this is his first time, big Tough Duck toque coming your way, Andrew. So thanks again for watching the show, and you have the Tough Duck hardest hitting comment.
Even though it's now spring again.
Yeah, exactly. People are golfing again. So
winter was cutting his lawn.
Winter was very abbreviated this year.
Was he actually cutting his lawn?
Yes. There was actually one of my neighbors were cutting their lawn.
That's brave. Like, especially in Winnipeg, like he could have easily in the middle of cutting his lawn. There was like a blizzard, right? But I think it gave a few people an opportunity to rake. I didn't rake my leaves this year, and I'm not going to use this as an opportunity to rake my leaves. You can stay there, leaves, until the spring.
How does Naomi feel about that?
Well, she's not really talking to me right now, so I don't think
Drew, he's sleeping at my house tonight.
It's figured as much. All righty, let's wrap this thing up with one final important piece of business.
Put on your antlers. It's time for the Manitoba Moose Minute on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show.
Manitoba? No, those are bison, but still, Moose. Come on, let's go. It was not.
Those are different animals, right?
Yeah, I understand. But it said Manitoba, so I was just trying to keep it connected there, Drew. Okay. There's not much to talk about when it comes to the Manitoba Moose, other than the fact that they returned.
Much good to talk about.
That's true.
Yeah.
That they returned from a 2-game sweep of Texas to proceed to lose the next 4 games, 2 to Rockford and 2 to Laval. Laval coming in was the worst team in the Eastern Division. The worst, both goaltenders, sub 900 save percentages. And they look like Patrick Waugh with the Moose on Sunday afternoon at 2:00. And then yesterday, the Project 11 school day game. Of course, the more important message, and we talked about it with Nolan Baumgartner, was the message about mental health and what that can do for young kids. And there's 7,000 kids screaming from 10:30 puck drop until they were picked up. And even after they left, after the game was over, because they had to go out in segments with their schools, kids were there long after. So even when I was writing my recap, well after the game had ended, there were still kids waiting to go on their buses. And honest to God, I got to tell you, they just started doing these. They've been doing school day games in the States for years. Never done them before last year here in Winnipeg, but they are such good energy. 7,000 kids. They bring it. They sing every song, every single song. These kids know them all. They're singing them all, whether it was Taylor Swift or whatever. The fact is these kids were nonstop throughout the course of that hockey game. And unfortunately, the Jets, so the Moose, could not match the atmosphere because they just didn't have it again yesterday. They lost Jeff Malott. There was a bit of a melee at the end of the last game. Nikita Chibrikov got
is it melee or melee?
I think a melee, but you could probably say either way. I like melee, but anyways,
there's 3 E's in that word, right?
I think it's a melee is what it is.
I like melee.
It's not a melee, it's a melee.
You're being melee right now, Drew. So stop interrupting my Minute.
I think melee means when like fruit is like kind of soft.
Well, actually, hold on. I'm going to defer to your greater knowledge of fruit, and when it goes a little mealy. So
it's a
okay,
French
it was a
word,
melee.
No, Dave, that
melee.
wasn't my knowledge of fruit. That was my journalism diploma kicking in right there. That was all those years I studied the dictionary there.
The point is that it was
true story. My dad got Matthew Leibel a dictionary for his bar mitzvah. You can ask him that.
I do believe that. Anyways, it's not like when I got that
I
present.
got through there.
What a terrible gift.
It's like, hey, no, hold on. You want to say that's a terrible gift?
Not a terrible gift.
You want to hear about terrible? I once got a book and it said it was from a bar mitzvah, to Paul. And I was like, someone regifted it and said to Paul. You could have at least ripped the page out. Anywho, getting to the Moose. So there was a bit of a melee after the game on Sunday. And it was really weird because Jeff Malott really just went and interposed himself, didn't get into a fight, but simply just because Artemi Knizev was getting pummeled and by Jaden Struble. And so you're wondering, the refs aren't doing anything, the linesmen aren't doing anything, but the game's over. So everybody's come off the bench, and yet they gave Jeff Malott a suspension for coming off the bench. And like Brad Lambert was in there, a lot of the guys were in there. So it was a little unusual, but they singled Malott out, gave him a 1-game suspension. He was the only guy who had produced on Sunday. He had 2 goals for the Moose. So they didn't have much, by the way, of scoring on Monday. It was significant though, because it was Thomas Milich's first AHL start. He came on in relief of Oskari Salmon in the second period on Sunday, but the 2023 fifth rounder, as he made his debut. He was very good on Sunday, made 20 saves on 22 shots. Not as good on Monday, but again, the team wasn't very good. A lot of the goals, he just had almost no chance. And yeah, I mean, probably the most significant thing from the game was the hit by Nikita Chibrikov. He laid out, there's a lot of Manitoba on that team, as Riley McKay from Swan River, Brady Keeper, he's also on that team.
Michael Furland is from Swan River.
There you go. So there was a lot of Manitoba.
Was he playing in the game?
He was not, but there was a lot.
Retired.
Yeah, there was a lot of Manitoba on that Laval team. They showed a lot of fight, and they sent the Moose home. Sent the kids didn't care.
Still on the Rocket?
Who?
No, as he's not.
No,
I think Sammy Niku's actually.
He's back in Finland.
He is back in Finland, but he's one of the top scorers in the Liga. So he's as is Christian Reichel.
Are you bringing back the Free Sammy Niku movement?
No, I was never part of it. But Christian Vesalainen, I think, also is having a pretty good season in Finland.
Dave, did you say you weren't a part of it? I'm pretty sure you were it.
Was I? I don't know. I don't even know what I'm a part of anymore, but I can tell you I'm somehow still a part of this show, and the show is still going on, even though it's been a long one at this point. But ultimately, the kids brought the energy to the Project 11 school day game. The Moose did not. And yeah, like I said, Chaz Lucius, the other thing I should mention, the 2021 first rounder, he returned after dealing with a concussion that took him out since October 17th. And alternate captain CJ Cease, he's also back. He was dealing with a lower body injury. So, like I said, the most significant thing from the game, aside from the energy brought by the kids, was the booming hit by Nikita Chibrikov. So that was worthwhile. The Moose, we won't see them for a while. They're going to be at practice. We'll have that covered, of course, for illegalcurve.com and the web and the YouTube page. So you can see that on there. We'll have a Manitoba Moose practice report. Coincidentally for me, everything is at Hockey for All Center. So I got Moose practice at 10:30 tomorrow, Jets practice at 12 tomorrow. We'll have tons of coverage on the website and on our YouTube channel. But after tomorrow, the Moose are leaving, and this will tie into the Jets, boys. Probably later, one or two players, even though Axel Jonsson-Fjällby's done probably nothing since the Moose. They'll probably pull him up. Maybe Jeffrey Viel or Dominic Toninato, one of those three. They're not, just for the record, they're not picking up Brad Lambert or any of the prospects. Those guys are going to stay and play big minutes for the Moose. So they'll recall one or two guys up. The Moose are leaving for Belleville on Thursday, and then they play, I think it's 6 games on the road, and they play a 3-3 starting in Belleville on Friday. Then they play Saturday, Sunday in Toronto. So lots of games. Declan Chisholm, I should mention him. He got his first few games in with the Moose. He was feeling good, but he did confirm what I've always said, boys, is that practice is great, but it doesn't replicate game action. And he just said he took him some time, but he felt good. So we have all of that on our YouTube channel. Folks want to hear.
There you go. That was a very, very long Moose minute, but it was
not a minute.
Chock full of information that you can only find here on the Illegal Curve post-game show. Well, an hour and 16 minutes. I think that's our longest one of the years so far. We'll see if we beat it at any point during the rest of the season. But it was certainly an entertaining one, much like the Winnipeg Jets 6-3 victory over the New Jersey Devils was an entertaining one tonight in downtown Winnipeg. We are next in action on Friday after the Jets and the Sabres, the Illegal Curve post-game show. Talk about a busy 24 hours coming your way Friday, Saturday. So Friday night, Illegal Curve post-game show. Quick turnaround Saturday morning, Illegal Curve hockey show. Quick turnaround, Illegal Curve post-game show Saturday night. So we will be busy. You keep it locked and you subscribe to our YouTube channel. You keep it locked and you follow everything that's going on illegalcurve.com. You keep it locked and you support all the sponsors of these fine shows that we put forth. Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club, Linden Market Dental Center, Zappia Group Realty, Betway. They're the title sponsor of the post-game show. Our friends at Tough Duck, hardest hitting comment. You give that on each post-game show. Boston Pizza, like I said, Thursday, December 7th. Put that in your calendar. We're live on location there. Seagram's shot of the game. Rollies Transfer, to use Rollies for all your moving needs. The Rink Guys, if you need an outdoor rink, eventually it's going to turn cold. We've been reliably informed that's going to happen at some point in time. The Rink Guys is where you need to be. And of course, Farmery Beer. Enter the promo code IC Beer 10 off, 10 the number 10 off at farmery.ca, and you will get a $10 off 12-pack of beautiful, delicious, ice cold Illegal Curve beer. Support these fine businesses because of their continued support of Illegal Curve hockey. We'll be back, like I said, Friday night. In the meantime, legalcurve.com and all of our social media is where you can find all of our information, news, audio, everything under the sun. If you haven't already done so, leave us a review on our podcast, on YouTube, on iTunes, on Google Podcasts, wherever you may find this program. Yes,
which
Dave.
BP? Doug wants to know which BP on December 7th.
BP Taylor. Boston Pizza Taylor. So on Taylor Avenue, Boston Pizza, right on the corner of Taylor and Nathaniel. That's where we will be.
Look for Illegal Curve on the marquee.
Yeah, Illegal Curve. It says Illegal Curve.
They've
on
actually
the
taken the Boston Pizza logo down and it's now just the IC logo, right, Dave?
That's right, exactly. It's a beautiful thing.
You have to pay a lot of money
They've
for that.
rebranded. They've just taken our IC logo and they've rebranded. Instead of BP, it's now called IC. They changed the entire marketing of the company just for us. It's very sweet of them. Big thanks to all of you for joining us. It's been a fun one. It's been a long one. We hope you've enjoyed it as well. Yeah, we'll be there, Spencer. You don't worry. We'll be there.
He's not talking to us, Drew. He's talking to the chat.
Oh, he's talking to the chat. Okay, the Illegal Curve
Call
holiday
me maybe,
party.
Spency. Call me maybe.
So it's a holiday party. It's the Jets game. It's the post game show. It's Illegal Curve. It's a holiday party. Put it in your calendar. We'll see you there. We'll see you Friday night. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Until Friday night, this has been the Illegal Curve post game show. We wish you good night and good luck.